Now, welcome everyone to today's revision on L4M1. I can see that from the registration log, then I can see that we received over 100 registrations, and that is quite many in our standard. Normally, in other revision event, even for L4M8, we don't receive that many requests. So we are really happy that many students are studying their preparation for March exam. However, this is also a sign that L4M1 is something very challenging, and it also shows in the exam statistic from SIP as well. L4M1 is in fact currently the lowest. It is the module with the lowest pass rate. With the lowest pass rate in level 4. With under 50% of student or candidates passing them at the first attempt. So I always ask myself what could be the reasons. In fact, nowadays the students may have access to multiple tools and practice questions as they want. We have the practice question on EME, and also other publisher, other instructors, and the study guide also offers some important insight to the topic, as well as we have some Google search websites and also generative AI that enable the study, customized study, personalized study, whatever. So it showed to us that L4M1 still have very low pass score because I think now some students don't know how to construct a proper answer. So today, I spent at least half of my session to guide you on how to make a decent writing. Maybe this does not deliver you the highest score. This may deliver you the 100%, but at least it can help you to get a pass score. Normally in L4M1, we don't have that many topics, and sometimes the questions here are pretty easy and easy to predict. But the thing is, most people still struggle with writing, and implementation is the thing that I think most students are missing. So today, let me analyze a little bit how to construct the answer for L4M1 before we go into a list of topics of L4M1 and what kind of what question you may have for me. So let's have a look, because I can see that L4M1 has pretty low pass rate in all level 4 and even in level 5 compared to L4M1 and L4M4. L4M1 has particularly low pass rate. So I assume that the reason could be as the following. First, we have very wide range of topics. But compared to L4M8 or L4M1 and L4M4, I think that the number of topics in L4M1 is not that diverse, probably due to more people attending L4M1, or maybe like because they see number 1, so they use L4M1 as their first exam. This could be a wrong approach, since L4M1 requires composite knowledge from other modules as well. So that could be another reason. So you should leave L4M1 as one of your last module, at least after about 3 or 4 oral exams. Second, L4M1 has pretty dense content. I mean, like the load information here is pretty huge. L4M1, L4M8, L4M1, and L4M4 all have 4 questions. But with the dense content, I think that L4M1 and L4M4 even have denser content, and they packed with theories, with information. But L4M1 still have low pass rate, so this could not be the primary reason. And finally, L4M1, I see that I believe that it has a pretty huge part not covered in the study guide. For example, in the part 2.4 in study guide. It say about the relationship between compliance and the added value outcome. The problem is they always say about the positive impact of compliance to the added value outcome. They don't say much about the adverse effect, and you need to do that by yourself. Similarly, in chapter 4, they have a question about, they could have a question about procurement in retail and procurement in manufacturing. This is not covered in study guide, but in the exam, you can still see that question, possibly. So I think that the major reason for L4M1 has such low pass rate, because first, many parts are not covered in study guide. In L4M1 and L4M4, although they are also long and dense, but normally they ask the question within study guide, and you can give the answer from studying the study guide. But with L4M1, studying with study guide is not enough, and you need to prepare beforehand and prepare for certain question. Okay, so we may have a few certain questions like that. Second is like maybe the L4M1 is the first exam that students sit for CR, so they may lack the proper skill for L4M1. And especially when you switch from preparing for OR to preparing for CR, this could be a problem as well, because when you are preparing for OR, you only need to read and identify the pattern within the question. But writing is another matter. It is creative. So with writing, then you need to organize your ideas and develop them into something like comprehensible and consistent. And this could raise particular challenge for non-native speaker. And I believe that most of the participants today are from the countries that not use English as the first language. So that could raise another challenge, especially when you don't have sufficient vocabulary for business writing for L4M1. So the fix here is not just looking at the book more, but you need to expand your vocabulary and also handle writing skill as well. So these things are come side to side. So when you practice writing more, you have better vocabulary and also better grammar, and that can reinforce your writing skill, right? So the matter in L4M1 is not about just reading a book, but you need to put your knowledge into writing and into skill. Another problem I can see from students, I also have some revision class, private revision with a few students, and the problem I can see from them is that they don't know how to provide the answer. Of course, when it comes a question for the fire right, everyone can answer like there are fire rights, right quality, right quantity, right time, right place, and right price. Okay, so there are fire rights. But the problem is you need to develop them into proper essay, not just 5 bullet points about the rights. So that is another challenge, and most people like they don't plan any writing beforehand. They are just think of something and put down in typing. This is not a good approach. When you do that, then you can run out of idea. You can sit a long time without typing your words, and your essay could be very short, and it doesn't provide sufficient information as the assessor expects. So the problem here is that you need to make a plan of your writing, and you can do that easily by using some method tool. Many of my students have like, they know that there are a few things in the essay, but they don't know how to develop them. So I think that first thing you need to know how to use different mental tools. The mental tools here are something they are some kind of like shortcut or suggestion in your mind that you can take from your brain and put it down into writing. So I may have a few suggestions for you here. Telegram, we always record and share this to your email later. So please don't disturb me with the recording method again. We always do that. Here, I introduce a few mental tools for you. They are the something that you can use your brain in the exam without looking at any material, and you can do that by yourself and try to develop some idea into a full essay. You don't need to write very long. Just for a bullet point or for a paragraph, you just need to write about 4 to 5 or 6 sentences. That's all. So I have a few ideas for you to use when it comes to the exam. First, the Ishikaga diagram. This is also pretty simple. It is also known as a fishbone diagram. Fishbone diagram. So it starts with the head of the fish, and then you have the bone, you have the skeleton, and the branches into some area. So it looks like something like when you measure something, this is the head of the fish, and then you can develop it by adding the branch, by asking the impact of that thing on different aspects. For example, you may analyze something like your headline is structured procurement process, and then you can analyze the impact of structured procurement process on first thing accountability, and then another area is training of procurement, and then another area is supplier relationship, and then another area is stakeholder engagement, etc. So you can analyze in something like how structured procurement process may affect the different aspect of business in accountability, in training and procurement, in supplier relationship, in procurement system, and so on. So by that way, then you can look at different aspects and make your essay kind of like quite comprehensive and analyze in a way that more consistent and yeah, pretty impressive. Another tool in writing essay is stippled. Actually, I think that people underestimate how helpful stipple can be when it comes to writing, especially when most of our topics are about business environment. Sometimes they ask about public sector or non-for-profit sector, but basically all of them are just business, and procurement is just a function within a business. So when it comes to some aspect like risk, opportunities, and the impact, then you can just analyze the impact based on stipple, based on what could be the social impact or technological impact of something. Or when you have some question about risk, for example, the risk of adopting ERP within an organization, then analyze the impact based on stipple or the risk based on stipple. Socially, then it may make some role redundant, right? Technologically, it requires a lot of investment and resources. Economically, it requires some costs. Environmentally, then it may increase the energy consumption and also carbon footprint. Politically, it requires to seek the consensus and approval from other stakeholders. Legally, then we need to have a contract with the supplier. Ethically, then it should have some process for control, or we can have some kind of like bribery corruption risk from here. or demographically. Okay, so with demographic, I also merge that with social. So with people, then we can use it as a shortcut to suggest potential risk and generate possible idea for something. And next is my pretty favorite tool, that is L4M1. Actually, they are the question words in English. What, where, why, when, who, whom, which. And then we have 1H is how. They are the different open-ended question word in English. So when you have a matter, when you have a single matter, first of all, explaining about the right quality or explaining the added value of specification, then you can ask yourself several micro questions to elaborate the topic and make your writing, make your essay more comprehensive. So you can ask by yourself, what does it mean by right quality? And then who can benefit from right quality, when we should have right quality, where we can apply this, what tool could or which tools could deliver the right quality, or how to deliver the right quality in procurement environment, etc. By answering the small question like this, then you can write about 1 to 2 sentences. And as long as you can imagine yourself different questions, then you never run out of idea how to make this work, how to lengthen or extend your writing. Okay, so it also, just like Ishikaga, then it also expands your writing and provide the assessor a comprehensive and pretty analytical writing. I still have two other tools. First, it is brainstorming. Actually, they did not quite recommend it because brainstorming, it just generate different ideas, as many ideas as possible within a short time frame. It is more helpful when we have a teamwork, but the exam is not a teamwork. It is an individual attempt. So you may not think much within a short time frame like that. And second, it may come in random area. It may come pretty randomly, right? It may pretty randomly. So not every idea is correct per the study guide or correct by logic. So brainstorming should only be used as the last result. It should not come to the first thing, but it should be the last result, because the idea here could be very random and you don't have much time to correct the wrong thing. So I suggest another tool. It is critical success factors. Critical success factor could be very handy in your real life as well. So in front of a method like how to make procurement or how to generate the saving of procurement, then you can ask yourself, what could be the success factor of that thing? So to generate more saving, for example, then procurement need to have a comprehensive plan, right? That is one thing. Second, procurement need to have the skill. They need to have the infrastructure. They need to have the right system. They need to implement several techniques like comparative tendering or challenging the specification or value analysis and value engineering, etc. So by looking at different success factors, then you can suggest yourself how to deliver the answer, how to suggest the action or actionable advice for the business within scenario. Critical success factor is particularly helpful for question number 4 in the exam. In question number 4, we often have a scenario, and then in that scenario, they may require the student to identify the ways in which or different actions by that could be taken, that could be undertaken by by procurement to have the organization to achieve something. For example, this is from pretty decent exam, but I think that is still very helpful. The exam may ask you to have an organization to expand market share. Then you should ask yourself, when to expand market share, then what could be the critical success factor? You can list like strong brand identity or competitive pricing or better distribution network. And from each critical success factor, then you can identify the possible actions that procurement may deliver to help with expand market share. For brand identity, for example, then procurement needs to collaborate with marketing and deliver the campaigns that increase the reach and let the customer know about the product more than the product from the competitor. Okay, so that is a way you can plan and outline your answer. Another problem in L4M1 and the CI exam in general is that students may struggle to understand the question. So you need to have another skill that is question analysis or analyzing the question. As you know, then SIP has a list of common words, but they rarely explain the rest. So the thing is, in the exam, you may have a scenario, but you always have a question. A scenario is kept like optional. They may have a scenario or not, but the common word here, the question here is compulsory. They always start with a verb like describe, explain, analyze, examine, outline, and etc. And then with the rest, they may explain the context. So with the question here, you need to understand it first before put down your answer. And you need to understand the requirement here. We have a few common question or common word like outline or describe, explain, and you need to understand the requirement. For some common word like outline and list, you only need to provide short answers. You can provide the answer in bullet points, like outline the tendering process. So you just need to briefly explain each step within the tendering process. So we start with market analysis and select the type of tender. And then second, we prepare the documentation, right? And then we maybe pre-qualify the supplier or supply selection, okay? And then the next step. So you can see that with the outline or list, you just need to make a list, or make a list of bullet points about the possible heading, possible short sentence about what we may have. You don't need to provide a full essay answer to this kind of question. This is not compulsory. So just to save time, provide short as possible answer with these common words. Okay, don't waste your time on this. Second, we have other common words like we have long answer, but there are two types of long answer common word. First is descriptive. Descriptive here means that you need to explain or you need to elaborate this thing based on the theoretical framework from the study guide. So when they ask you to describe the different electronic systems or explain the use of electronic system in procurement and supply function, then you just need to highlight the key features of those electronic systems. What does it mean by e-requisition or e-sourcing? What are their functions and what kind of work they can do? or how procurement can do that. You just need to give the description like that. And you don't need to go into your opinion about that. They don't ask for opinion. They just ask about elaboration and description, basic description of the thing. So no opinion here. On the other hand, we have long answer, but analytical question or comment word like analyze, examine, or discuss. Here, they put more emphasis on your opinion with the keyword like analyze, right? Analyze. Then you need to give your own opinion. In your opinion, is it good or bad? Or analyze the negative impact of structured procurement. Sorry, the negative impact of rigid compliance to the added value outcome. So with that question, you need to give your own opinion. Rigid compliance could be good, but in most of the case, they could be bad because of the following, or they can deliver the following impact, or they may affect added value outcome negatively in the following, right? So you need to give your opinion. The same apply to examine or discuss. All of these common words demand that you give the opinion, but must be based on some framework like the models from study guide. Okay, why? We describe and explain mostly description and key features of some matter and how you can use that in procurement. You don't need to give your opinion, but with analytical, give your opinion. That is the key difference. Why we can stick the explanation of common words easily from simple side, but they rarely explain the rest of the question. So explaining some keyword in the question here is also necessary. Sometimes you can see they have a pretty clear instruction like explain the added value of fire in procurement. That is very clear. But sometimes they may use some words. They may use some ambiguous words like added value. Okay, the added value. Or they may ask you to discuss different elements of governance or supporting factors or different supporting elements of governance in procurement of good supporting elements of good governance in procurement. All right, so that is more ambiguous, and you start to freak out like what could be the elements. And then in question number 4, they may ask something like analyze the ways in which procurement or the ways in which the profitability objective may have impact on procurement. All right, so also quite, hard to understand, incomprehensible, right? Here, I give you a few keywords that you may see from the exam. For example, when you see the word added value, then just simply think about the benefits of that thing. Added value of FireEye, what are the benefits of FireEye? What if we can achieve the FireEye? And then what could be the benefits that organization may get? All right, that is added value. Simply that they are just benefits. With elements, then they are the components or subsystems within an organization or a system or model. So an element of a business could be their department, their governance structure, their documents, their data, and so on. So depending on the case here, you need to identify what could be the components of the subject matter here. For example, we could have the elements of good governance, right? So you need to ask yourself, what could be the components of good governance? Governance needs to have a structure. They need to have process, policy, procedure. They also need to have the infrastructure, like the ICT, and they also need to have the stakeholder. Governance is essentially engaging with other people. So you need to break them down and identify each component separately, right? Or you need to generate first brainstorm what could be the elements within good governance and then analyze them. Okay, so the element here maybe probably it is the most ambiguous word, but essentially it is just the components of something. So you need to think about the subject matter and break it down into different components and then analyze each component. That's all. And finally, with the ways in which. So it works like something, the specific decisions, actions, or activities that procurement could take, okay, to support certain objective. This way of wording is particularly prevail in question number 4, so you can prepare for that. Yeah, and I also answer the question from Namfudo. In every question, then example or reference to the scenario are necessary. You cannot skip that. If you skip, then your answer will be particularly short and doesn't attract a lot of score. They want you to give the example in your real work or to apply the knowledge of SIP knowledge into the scenario. So in all cases, then they are necessary. Also, when it comes to example writing, I can also see that some of my students struggle with that. And I believe many students here, many participants here also struggle with example writing. The key thing is just you need to understand the subject matter and you need to write even a fictional case or your realistic case about how you apply that thing into your work, how you use e-procurement at your job, how you use the centralized procurement in your job, right? So the example here, I think that it's pretty simple, but most people struggle with that. It's works like the writing here is like you just need to make a story, even it is fiction. It is fictional. Then you just write a story with something open. The solution is the model, and the end is that everyone happy. Okay, that is basically a story, just like fairy tale. So the example should work like that. Before e-procurement, you struggle with a lot of paperwork, and then it come with the electronic system. It comes with electronic system. You have e-regulation, and then it transforms your work, and then you feel happy, and the stakeholder happy, right? So everyone ever happy, ever happy ever. Okay. I also see that many students struggle, also quite anxious about the length of the answer. There are some advice from other exam center saying that you should write like 500 or 600 words in your answer. But in fact, there's no such limit. And also, I demonstrate we have different common words. So the quantity of the word here or the word count here doesn't matter as much as your answer, matter as much as the content. Of course, you should make a decent essay, and decent essay is not short. It is not a 5 lines. It is not a 5 line answer. It is not just bullet point. You need to provide the essay with paragraphs, with sentences, proper language, and proper grammar. So what I want to say here is that you don't need to focus much on the length, but you need to pay attention, pay close attention to the time. The only limit in the exam is time. You have 180 minutes or 3 hours for 4 questions. And if you use calculator to divide it to 4, then you have 45 minutes each question. So you should not exceed the time answering one question and then ignore the other. It doesn't help you to achieve higher score. At best, answering one question gives you only 25 points. And it doesn't help you pass the exam. You need to answer every question and provide them for each question you provide with 45 minutes. The time comes first, then the word count comes later. And second, even when you pay attention to the word count, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as much as the content. If you address the question correctly, then of course you may attract higher score. Even when you have a long answer but off topic, then of course it fails, no matter the length. Even you have 2,000 word essay. So pay attention to the exam. Pay attention to the question and plan your time accordingly. Okay, so that's my advice. All of these are skills. And just like riding a bicycle, you cannot ride a bicycle by just looking someone else riding a bicycle. You cannot learn to drive a car by looking someone else drive a car. You need to put them into practice. Set aside 45 minutes and attempt a question, and let's see how good you can answer. That is a practice. Okay, I am giving the idea here. It's just like some suggestion. Just like when a child start practicing bicycling, riding a bicycle, then first I may give him a training wheel, and then and giving instruction or suggesting the tool like this is like giving you a training wheel. But you need to use that in the right purpose. You need to put it into your bicycle and start rolling down the street, not just looking at the training wheel and then leave it in a corner and then just walk every day. You never learn how to ride a bicycle. So here, I give you the training wheel. The matter is you need to put it into your bicycle and rolling down the street. Okay, and start practicing. From now to March exam, we still have some time, like maybe 6 weeks left. So I still think it is sufficient. You still have sufficient time to prepare. Now, let's look at potential topics and questions for L4M1. This is the first chapter, potential question number 1. We have a few topics like about definition of purchasing, procurement, supply chain management, and supply chain approaches in procurement. Or you may have the comparison between direct, indirect expense, capital and operational expenses, and other type purchase like constructional, commodity, stock and non-stock, utility, or product and service procurement. We also have the question about the fire rights or the stakeholder management or different sources of added value in procurement. So among these topics, anyone has any question that you want me to explain? Do you have any question here? Please put it down in the chat.
The lesson is going well, though some of us we joined late. That's when we're trying to catch up.
Okay, so which topic are you trying to catch up?
I'm in the same one, L4M1.
Okay, we are talking about L4M1. I don't talk about L4M8, but I want you to tell me the specific topic.
All right, thank you.
Is it okay maybe if we could look at the first topic? Because I see it to be kind of vast. It's quite a big topic, because for these other topics we mostly relate to so well from the previous modules. And then the other question which I would have asked actually is for those who are actually taking both modules, module 1 and module 8, if at all maybe there is any differences in how you actually respond to
No, there are
questions.
no differences in providing the answer. They all have the same principles, and they
Okay.
also have the same common words. So the only difference here is about the topic.
Okay, if I can say, the first topic is, let's say it's a little bit, have a lot of information, so you can explain it to us, along with the last topic, which is the shareholder management. Direct, indirect expense, it's quite straightforward. CapEx and OpEx, it's also straightforward. Five types, it's straightforward. So let's focus on the first and the last one, if possible.
Okay, so the first one is just about purchasing, procurement, and supply chain management. I mean, the difference between them. So it should be at the start of the study guide. Yeah, anyone here can answer this? What are the differences between purchasing, procurement, and supply chain management?
Let me
From
just
my
give it a try.
Yes, thank
May I
you.
give it a try? So, in literal sense, I would say purchasing is quite straightforward because it doesn't involve so many processes compared to procurement, where you actually look at, or for purchasing, would say the process actually just involves you. It will ask you to actually get the money and go and buy the item that you require. But for procurement, you have to identify the need. You have to actually go through all the stages of procurement cycle. And same applies to supply chain management. This is where now you start including issues of maybe warehousing and also transportation of your goods and services up to the time when they reach the consumer.
Yeah, exactly. So purchasing is, yeah. Ahmed, is there any question
yes,
else?
yes, actually, to simplify it, let's say the procurement is the whole process
Yes.
of procuring an item, and a purchase is a one phase out of it. While supply chain is involving on a big umbrella on each transaction in between purchasing and the procurement cycle, and even after the procurement cycle. This is the supply chain management is the transaction between all the steps.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct too. So the differences here are pretty simple, and it is highlighted. They are highlighted right from the start of the study guide. Purchasing is operational task where the procurement only receive a requisition and place order accordingly. That is purchasing. And procurement doesn't involve in other activities or doesn't add much value. Procurement is undertaking, it is a strategic function. This is a keyword. You need to write it is a strategic function. And it aims at securing the input for an organization. Procurement tasks may vary from defining needs to supplier relationship management and access management. In other words, procurement means we need to do the full procurement cycle. And finally, supply chain management means we need to, it means a task, also a strategic function where we need to balance the input and the output of the organization and make the ends meet, managing the upstream supply chain, upstream suppliers and their products, and also try to meet the demand from downstream from the customer and manage them in a way that ensuring the smoothness and transition between the upstream and downstream. Okay, another matter rise to me here is stakeholder management. Also, I can see that when I read the principal marker report, whenever the exam has a question about stakeholder management, then this question tend to be answered quite poorly. The thing is, stakeholder management is just about managing other people, managing communication with other people and get their approval. So it involves two things. First, you need to identify the stakeholder. And second, categorize them and put important stakeholder into priority. And with the rest, then we can have lower priority, but we also need to update this list regularly. For identifying stakeholder, then we just need to write that we have three types of stakeholder, internal, connected, and external stakeholder, and then example of each type. Then with the categorization, with the classification of stakeholder, we can use Menelau's matrix based on power or influence and interests of each stakeholder and categorize them into 4 groups. The most important group is the key players. And there are 3 other less important groups, that is keep satisfied, keep informed, and minimal effort. So we spend most of our energy to engage with the key player, and with the other 3, we have different plan of communication. For example, with keep satisfied, just report them about the progress and keep them happy about the results so far. And with keep informed, then just give them the instruction about what they need to do. And with minimal effort, then we rarely need to communicate with them, just sometimes communication about what could affect their work or their life. So that is the stakeholder management. Okay, just about identification and management, and explain about some model like Menelau's matrix. Okay, so is there anything else here? Again, okay, I can see a few questions from the chat, from Joyce, Nikki, and Samba. Yeah, there are 2 questions about supply chain management. In fact, with supply chain management, then you need to know that procurement may do a part of supply chain management, and the definition here is just we try to accommodate both the upstream and downstream information in a way that we can smooth them. We need to care for the transport, we need to care about the warehouse and transition from movement of goods from the upstream to the downstream. Okay, so it's not that difficult. The definition is not that difficult. Second, because supply chain management is pretty complex. So we have some advanced approaches to manage it, like using the just-in-time supplier partnership or lean and agile, and total quality management. So they can be applied in procurement as well. the matter here is that how we can apply different supply chain management technique in procurement. And the answer is pretty simple. We just need to collaborate with the supplier. We just need to listen to their suggestion or any problem. We need to meet them on regular purpose and integrate the system, the information between the supplier and the buyer. When the supplier and the buyer has smoother data transfer, like they use the same ERP system and they have the access to the other party data, then collaboration is much easier. We can keep inventory number up to date on our machine and on supply machine. And then when they see that our inventory is low, then they can deliver us they can deliver the additional products. Okay, so that is supply chain management. Sometimes it just works like that. For Nikki, is it wise to do both L4M1 and L4M8? Yes, it's possible, but depend on whether you have sufficient time to study both. And finally, for Samba, I said it earlier, you should not take L4M1 as one of the first module. At least after sitting a few OR, then you can sit L4M1. It still requires you to have the knowledge from other part of the qualification before sitting L4M1. For example, writing about fire rise. You also need to write about how to achieve the fire rise. And the knowledge on how to achieve fire rise are highlighted from other modules. For procurement cycle, it is the same thing. To write about procurement cycle, you also need to understand what should be done in each stage, which are also highlighted in other modules. Okay. Now, Tanga, how can I help you?
Okay, so I wrote an exam that asked about capital and operation expenses.
Yeah.
Which fortunately was the lowest grade in the whole module. So the way I answered it was I defined what the question was asking about the differences. I defined capital and operation expenditure, and I gave out the differences. So is there any other way I was supposed to answer it, or?
Yeah, the way you approach here is correct, but the point is, Tanga, just keep your micro open. The point here is that whether you provide sufficient points about the differences. Okay, so what are your answer? What are included in your answer?
So I mostly just defined what capital expenditure is, what capex is, and what opex is, and I dropped down the differences between operational.
Yeah, what are the differences?
Mostly, I just dropped out the differences that, like, for example, capital purchases. These are asset purchased, you know. Then operational, these are ongoing purchases to an organization, etc. Capital high value, operational low value, low to medium low value items. That's how I just dropped them down. I dropped down like 4 on capital and 3 on operational. Then with the definitions as well. So is there anything else I was supposed to do?
Yes, of course. You need to expand your answer. Writing like that is not sufficient. And you are just make very superficial description of each expenses. The point of this question is that you need to highlight their features and how procurement may approach to managing capital and operational expenditure. Now, you said that capital has high value. So the high value of capital may have several, it may have several impact. First, because of high value, the business must use the lending.
Excuse me, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I just want to find out on my colleague what on how he answered on capital and operation expenditure.
Yeah.
Is there a way CIPS can show you the results to see how many marks you got on this particular question so that you can improve, like to add on
Yes.
things you think you didn't do enough?
They do give you the score per question, but they don't give you the details. They just give you like 40% on question number 1 or 60% on question number 2. So just like that, and you don't have the details on why you fail. All you have is how each question, how many points each question has. Okay, so not much information. If you want to know why you fail, then I think the better practice is to summarize your answer and provide that answer to an instructor. Okay, so he may explain or she may explain how you can improve that in another attempt or next time. However, we all want to avoid this situation. We don't want to resit the exam. It's pretty expensive. Now, let's return to the question of capital and operation. If you just provide that capital has high value, operation is low value, capital is about assets, operational is about inventory, that's not enough. We need to highlight the features and how the impact on procurement. Of course, capital has high value, but it has several impacts. High value means we may need to borrow to buy that. We need to borrow money from the bank to buy that. We need to seek approval from high-ranking manager to buy that. High value also means we have a large cash flow outlay. We have a large cash outflow at the time purchase. And all that means that first we need to analyze the whole life cost. We need to analyze the return on investment. And we need to write a business case to convince the manager to approve on capital purchase. Okay, that thing doesn't happen to operational. And with capital, it also has long contract, more complex negotiation. Also, more complex and more diverse stakeholder to engage with, and so on. So if you can highlight those differences, then your answer will be highly appreciated and get better score. Okay, so just high value or just about assets is not enough. You need to highlight the features in procurement. Like we need to analyze the whole life cost because of high value. We need to analyze the return on investment because of borrowing money. We need to analyze the return because of cash outflow, whether it may give you positive cash flow or using net present value to analyze the cash flow, the lifetime cash flow. We need to write the business case because we need to convince the senior managers and other stakeholders to to approve this purchase. We need to negotiate longer with stakeholders because the contract tends to be quite complex. And the contract, maybe we need to use the modern form contract because it is quite complex. It may require a lot of attention, and the specification for capital purchase is also more complicated because of much details is a discussion. So to design or to draft a specification, then it requires a team effort rather than individual effort. With operational, the specification is simpler, and we can standardize that using the e-catalog or using paper catalog or using the previous purchase to decide the operational purchase. They don't apply to capital since we need to specifically design the assets to our specific needs. So when you can provide all of those features then of course your answer will be highly appreciated. Okay, so that's why I recommend that we need to have better method tool here. Okay, what could be different aspect of purchase using Ishikaga diagram? Okay, so when you write about capital, then you need to branch out. What could be the impact on procurement? What could be the impact on purchasing process, on tendering process, on specification, on stakeholder, right? And then you can see we can highlight different aspects from this diagram. Okay, so if you have better tool, then you can provide better answer. All right, Tamara, I hope that this may help you improve your answer in the future.
Yes, thank you. Hopefully it comes in March.
Yeah. Okay, now, DE potential question number 2. Now, is there any part of these topics that give you some difficulty?
Personally, I feel the last one, though also even electronic system, especially for those who are already in procurement, but they do not have electronic systems in place. It becomes slightly a little bit difficult to really relate
Okay,
with it
I understand.
because they are very dependent on only what they are learning now. But how it really works, it becomes quite hard for them to give examples, practical examples on how this electronic system really works.
Okay, I understand. And this is also the concern of my students, my private revision student. With electronic system, then we need to have actual experience to describe them. So the description from study guide is insufficient. They talk about e-catalog or e-regulation, e-sourcing, and so on. But if in our work we don't use those systems, we mostly use the Excel spreadsheet and email, then of course it's difficult for us to describe those systems. So with this electricity system, I recommend that you should, before sitting the exam, you should search from YouTube how this system works. I think this is one of the parts that you need to do when it comes before sitting the exam. Okay, so visit YouTube and search for the keyword like e-requisition and look at how they design the process for that system. We have a few videos like this made by software provider, and they may give you some description like this. First, the end user may create a request or a requisition on the system, and then that request will be submitted for approval, and it appeared in the manager machine, in manager computer, and then it will be sent to procurement, and procurement may create a purchase order based on that requisition. Okay, so that is the basic flow. And from these videos, you can see how they implement that within a specific system. The same thing applies to e-catalog and e-sourcing. However, if you are still working in a traditional organization, then it could be pretty hard to imagine how the system works. So I still recommend that you may search from YouTube, but YouTube only have a limited library of system library of video, or you can search from the internet from Google, and they may return you with a few demonstration video as well. So watch them, learn how electronic system work, and then you can describe and give example of the system. Another particular part that I see most students struggle is the structured procurement process and the negative impact of compliance. So with structured procurement process, it is just a part, it is just a type process. And with this process, it means we have a string of steps. We have we have a sequence of steps. And with the sequence, then we have the structure. It means like they are documented and they provide the consistency, and it applies to procurement. So structured procurement process is just a consistent documented process in procurement that try to deliver the added value in the job. The benefit include the consistency, provide the instruction for every party, support collaboration, support the training, and ensure the fair treatment of different suppliers. Okay, so it's kind of like pretty simple to imagine. With complaints or reject complaints and added value outcome, then again you can analyze using Ishikawa diagram. You need to imagine about what could be the impact on different aspects. The aspect could be like about supplier relationship, about the work efficiency, about the economic factor, or about the cost, about the relationship between procurement and other internal stakeholder, and etc. So for example, for supplier relationship, rigid compliance may distance ourselves from engaging with the supplier, and we may not leverage, we may not have the opportunity, or we may miss the opportunity to leverage, to innovate, to gain innovation, or to deepen our relationship with the supplier. For the efficiency, then rigid compliance may lengthen the time and add the cost, and it requires us to do the thing over and over just because of a small error. For other stakeholder, then we may be quite rigid and could be disliked and reduce the collaboration with other stakeholder due to the red tape, due to complex compliance, and due to very onerous or draconian requirements. Okay, other department may dislike us. And you can also write other aspect and analyze the impact like that way. Okay, maybe to the senior management, they may focus on some particular objective like cost saving rather than other added values. So it may also reduce our opportunity and give us some very difficult working relationship with our stakeholder. Okay, so by the way, then you can generate your answer. You can brainstorm your answer using Ishikaga. Just look at different aspects of your work and analyze how rigid compliance may affect that. Finally, I have a question about how to understand the procurement cycle fully. To understand it, then you should learn other module first. Okay, so I want to explain how you can analyze and how you can define the needs. F3 helps you with documentation. L4M4 helps with step number 3, from the make the plan to bid evaluation. F5 comes with negotiation post tender. F6 with supplier relationship management and also contract management, and F7 on asset management. So to fully understand SIP procurement cycle, you need to learn all other OR modules before writing F1. That is my advice. Okay, now question number 3. Is there any part here give you particular challenge? Yeah, I forgot to mention about the code conduct as well. Recent exam asked about code conduct. All right. Is there any part here give you challenge?
I think the ILO conversions and their impact. Because I believe for these others, because they are actually found in our companies and organizations, we are able to relate mostly, but when it comes to international legal organization, this one, I think it's barely, we are barely conversant.
It's kind of like just like question about sustainable procurement, but it focuses solely on labor matters. So ILO is International Labor Organization, and they have some key conventions about some matters, and we need to ensure that our whole supply chain comply with those standards. Something like the right to organize, the collective bargaining, abolition of child labor and forced labor, and equal remuneration and equal treatment or equality within labor. So it is basically about how we can encourage our supplier to follow the standard from ILO, and how we can encourage them or apply different KPI or establish the whistleblower channel to identify the violation and encourage the suppliers to adopt more sustainable labor practice. So here, you don't need to specifically remember all of the conventions. You just need to remember their key methods and how we can monitor the supplier practice and other sub-suppliers, other subcontractors practice throughout supply chain. Okay, so it's more like about sustainable procurement rather than just about these conventions themselves. Okay, so I assume that this part doesn't give you any challenge. And now I can go into chapter number 4. Chapter number 4 is just about different sector and procurement in different sector. So is there anything that gives you the challenge here?
This one looks like it's not challenging, but it's a bit tricky, especially if there's a case study.
Yeah,
Let's say there's
I
a case
understand.
study on a public sector organization. How can
Yeah.
you break it down? Because the last chapter is very
Okay,
tricky.
so with question number 4, as you said, then they may have a scenario, and then that could be quite tricky, and it may contain a lot of details. So my advice here is focus on the question, what they are asking in the question, and then you try to distill the scenario into some details that support the subject matter. For example, they may ask about some principle like competition, public accountability, or value for money, or about the regulations. So you need to find details from the case study about regulations. The regulation here, you need to understand in the broad case, not just about the process, but about other aspects like about the product, about the safety, about the environment, or about the accountability. So you need to highlight some details from scenario like that. Sometimes scenario could be very long, and reading it could consume a lot of your exam time, and we should avoid this. We should focus on the question and try to find the details later that support the question from the scenario. So here, it is a matter of practice and skill. And unless I have a specific question, then I cannot help you further. I can just give you some framework like with regulation. Then you need to look at broad regulations, not just about the process, not just about procurement regulation alone, but the regulation about public accountability, the regulations about about product safety, or about environment, and or about the labor, or about accounting. There are broad regulations, and even public sector are subject to them. Yep, Tonga.
I wanted to ask in the next class, if we're going to have any, is it okay if you just showed us a case study and how to understand, like just from what you explained?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Thank you for the suggestion. But
Okay.
I rarely have the exact scenario from SIP, but I just try to build a scenario from student memory. So yeah, sometimes I may have more precise question, but next time I may try to help you how to analyze a particular scenario, especially when scenario is long. All right, so this could be the next session. For question number 4, I can see that in recent exam, question number 4 tend to focus on public and third sector. However, this could be these areas tend to be the weakness of many students, since most of us are working in private sector. We rarely work in public or third sector. So my advice for all of you is that you need to look at public and third sector as well, and don't just focus on private sector. And second, especially pay attention to third sector. Recently, they asked a lot about that, and you need to understand about their objectives and the features or the characteristics of this sector. They may ask you very common question like the driving factors of procurement in third sector. What are they? The driving factors here may include the objectives like attracting the donation or charitable activity or provide the social value, or about other features like the non-for-profit feature or the financial feature, like they cannot distribute the profit, or about the operational feature like they have volunteers. So how all of these things may have impact on procurement. That's what you need to study. Okay, and finally, Samba, for OR, I think that you can start with L4M2 or L4M6 or L4M7. They are pretty easy to pass, and recently they have very high pass rate. So start with something easier and gain your confidence along the way. Okay, so I think that we have a pretty vivid discussion, and I hope that this kind of discussion help you in preparation of March exam. So if you have any further concern, contact us on WhatsApp, email, or visit our website. We also upload the recording to our website and send the link to your email on Monday after we summarize this video and upload it into the internet. And thank you very much for your participation today. I hope that we can have another productive session in the future. See you